Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the gentleman for yielding. I thank him for his leadership in giving us this opportunity today on September 11th to express our gratitude to our first responders, our sympathy to the families of 9/11, and our concern for the safety of the American people. I acknowledge his leadership role in this as from his committee standpoint, but as a New Yorker who knows firsthand the horror of 9/11. So thank you, Mr. Ackerman, for your leadership and for your commitment on this issue. When Abraham Lincoln, and I also thank Congresswoman Ross Layton for her leadership in bringing this to the floor as well. When Abraham Lincoln was a very young man, not 30 years old, he made a speech of 1838. And in it, he was talking about the history of our country and important events and how sometimes they're lost in the public memory. And he referred to the silent artillery of time, sometimes referenced as the harsh artillery of time, but nonetheless, the artillery of time to dull the memory of important events. Certainly that is a gift if time is, the artillery of time dulls the pain of a terrible loss. But there's no artillery powerful enough to dull the memory of 9/11, what it did to our country, what it attempted to do to our country. The courage of the families of 9/11 who turned their grief into strength in arguing for better policy in terms of the 9/11 Commission and the enactment of its recommendations to make America safer. Their grief to strength, to action, has made America safer. We have more to do. The silent artillery of time will never diminish the appreciation or the memory of the courage of our first responders, our police, our firemen, our emergency services people, the construction workers who went in right away risking their lives so that they could save other lives. Some of them lost their lives. The silent artillery of time will never dull the act of cowardice on the part of these terrorists. They don't care about life or buildings. They do care about instilling fear. And that's their goal, terrorists, to instill terror. But they did not succeed in that regard because New York rallied. Well, this morning we were at the Pentagon to see the families there and their spirit as the Pentagon Memorial was dedicated, and referencing what happened in Pennsylvania, the indomitable spirit of the American people, too strong a force for the terrorists to succeed with. And so again, the silent artillery time will never have us forget what happened to our country on that day, the hatred and cowardice that inspired it. So we are today, years later, saying once again to the families how sorry we are, thanking them for their courage, hoping for the best for them, for their children, and their future. Here we are today, 7 years later, saying to the first responders, thank you very much. But as some of others have said here, words are not enough. There's ways that we can put into action our appreciation, and that is to recognize the health needs of those who responded on that day and whose health problems linger to this day, and some that we won't even know about into the future. And we will never forget, no matter what they did to minimize the toll, the death toll that might have been. And we always remember, because we have constant reminders of it as well, the courage of these people on a day-to-day basis still across America, keeping us safe. And on this day, it drives home what we always know, that our first responsibility as elected officials is to protect the American people, make them safe in their homes, their neighborhoods, their towns and communities, ensure their national security. And that is something that we must do working together so that we can meet any threat to our security wherever it may occur. And in that spirit, I want to acknowledge also the courage, patriotism, and sacrifice of our men and women in uniform and their sacrifices that they are making and that their families are making to keep America safe. So with all the respect in the world for President Lincoln, when he was a young man talking about the silent artillery of time, his message reminds us that again, time may lessen pain, but it will never diminish our memory of what happened on 9/11, the courage that followed, and the responsibility we have to keep the American people safe. God bless those families. They've done so much for our country, right fresh off their tragedy. God bless those families. With their courage, God truly blessed America. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Mr.